Hello and welcome to this short module on a team bonus system that you may want to consider. I get a lot of questions about bonus systems, and they can work really well or they can backfire. And so, what I want to do is just cut down to one particular system. It doesn't mean you have to use it, but it's one that you may want to consider, and it may get some other ideas flowing. But I'll try to present a little bit of rationale for it and let you know how effective this one can be. So, some other people that know a lot about these kinds of things have a couple of quotes that I agree with. Here's one: that a bonus system for teams should be designed to reward collaboration and cooperation, not individual competition. And there are some bonus systems out there that feel, at least from a perception standpoint by the team, that there's some competition. And this happens when you have bonus systems that are for certain individuals in the practice or certain sub teams in the practice. And we're a small enough group that you have to be really careful with these. And the advantage of this system we're going to look at today is that it does reward collaboration and cooperation. And then another quote that is good that I like is that bonus systems for teams should be transparent and fair so that everyone understands how they can earn a bonus and what criteria will be used to determine the amount of the bonus. So these are some of the basic backbone guidelines to a bonus system that really works out the way that you envision it working out. And really, the goals of a bonus system are pretty straightforward. And I think intuitively you know this, but one is to motivate employees to achieve practice goals and to reward employees for their hard work and dedication, to encourage that teamwork and collaboration that we talked about, and to attract and retain top talent. And in today's hiring environment and retention environment with employees, having a bonus system can be just one more piece, one more incentive that could differentiate you from another option that that person has. And everybody likes a little bit of incentive. So here is a proven system. And why this is proven is because I didn't create this, but I did use this for many years in my practice, and I've helped other practices get this in place. And it just simply works. Now, I think any bonus system has a lifespan potentially. I'm going to show you how this one can be used to increase a little bit over time, and then maybe you want to mix it up somewhere down the road. Personally, I did not. For the last 15 years of my practice, I used this particular system. And because we were in growth mode, it worked really well. And I think it was part of the reason I was able to retain a team with an average tenure of at least 10 years. So let's look at how this might work. So, first of all, what you want to do in this system, number one, is determine the monthly overhead of the practice. And I think it's really hard to put in a sound and responsible bonus system until you have a handle on some of the finances in your practice and you understand whether you can really afford one and whether the practice warrants additional expense. I've seen people put a bonus system in when they have, 35, 40% staffing overhead, and it's not really necessarily the time to do that. So you want to know what that overhead is. And the flip side of that is that this particular bonus system is really designed to increase relative to the collection. So it's obviously kicks in as a practice does better. So it's a win-win, and the percentage doesn't necessarily change. What I mean by that is if you're at 35% overhead for your staffing and you put in this bonus system, you're probably going to stay somewhere around 35% if the collections are going up. And really what you hope for is that you're actually diluting that expense. We've talked about that before. That by increasing production, you can often dilute the expense overhead. So this can be a really good way to go, but you really want to know what the overhead of the practice and what percentage you're at, first of all. And really part of that is having a baseline then for your collections monthly based on that. So basically it comes down to, do you know your red line? And do you know what it costs to run this business? What is the dollar amount where everything lines up and makes sense and you're hitting the targets that you want to hit. And so at that point, this becomes the goal for the team as a foundation, and the goal beyond that is to exceed that to allow the bonus to kick in. So I'll show you an example of this at the end, but you get the sense, okay, whatever that number is, this is the amount based on my analysis of my practice overhead that I feel good about a bonus system kicking in. Then number three, what you do is you apply 10 to 15 cents an hour per $1,000 that you have increased collections over the baseline. So this applies to everyone in the practice, and it really works well for part-time and full-time because they get a proportion to their hours. So you may want to start with 10 cents an hour and then have the ability to let this evolve over time. Maybe after a period you could go up to 13 cents an hour and 15 cents an hour. Generally, this system, it's not recommended that you go beyond that. The numbers start to skew after that, but you could go a little bit higher. And this allows you to have a system that could play out over a significant period of time. And so you get this bonus raise. And you apply this to every hour for every employee. You don't want to punish people for taking, 2 days off in the middle of a month if they contributed to. And so those hours should not be punished. So you would add this bonus to their hours. And again, we're going to look at an example of this soon and it will make perfect sense. And so then on the last day of the month, you run the calculation. It's very simple, and you add it to the paychecks. And you want to announce this bonus immediately and celebrate any bonus. And one of the effective parts or characteristics of a bonus system is that it is very immediate. Now that's why an annual bonus is great, even quarterly bonuses. This can work with quarterly bonuses. But if you can have a bonus system that works in real time and celebrates the win of the month you're just coming out of, it is far more effective and far more motivating, and people understand it much better. So it's pretty easy. At the end of the month, you look at what the collections were for the month, and yes, collections, not production, because if you didn't collect it, there's not anything extra to pay a bonus on. So that puts a little bit of pressure on the front as well to make sure, hey, if the back is producing this, then the front needs to be collecting it. We're all in this together. And it can be a really healthy thing when you have that kind of a conversation and an attitude towards it. And so this can then be added to the paychecks immediately at the end of the month. So let's just go through a quick example and you'll see how simple this really is. Let's say you determine that your break even level is $100,000 for the month. That's what it takes for all your overhead targets to be responsible. That's where your red line feels good. It works well. And then, for example, in July, you produced 115,000. So you surpass the goal by $15,000. And so the bonus would be added as a multiplier of that. So if you were over by 15,000, that's 15 times 10 cents, for example, be $1.50 an hour and on up, depending on what bonus level you have set. And then that's added to all the hours. So if Kim receives $20 an hour regular pay, she would receive $21.50 an hour for the entire month. And it's not unusual to see bonuses, again, depending on your practice, but there were times where we actually paid out bonuses of $3 or $4 an hour. And I credit the team with a lot of that, just the motivation and the motivation from one bonus to see if they could match or exceed it in the next month. So it can be a very powerful tool, and this is just one way that you can make that work really, really well. So, the bottom line with a bonus system like this, once you've sat down and laid it all out, is you want to announce it, you want to reward it, you want to reinforce it. And remember really that every employee at any time is asking, what's in it for me in this job? And the bonus system has to relate to their performance. It has to be timely, as we've discussed. It has to be collaborative. And if you pull those pieces together and you communicate this well, there really is this feeling that everybody wins, and that's a really positive thing in a practice. And so in this module, you can download a description of this. I've written this up, really pretty much the same information that we've just gone through, but I do include in this another system that you could consider as well. It's a little bit different than the one that we just went through. This one is my favorite, but there is another option here. And so I want to give you that so that you can make a decision for your practice if you're considering a bonus system. So go ahead and download that, and you'll have that for reference and review. So I hope that helps with your consideration of a bonus system. If that's something that you think would fit with your practice and certainly well designed, it can.